Ну, короче, я сейчас я тебя баню. Я тебя баню, я сейчас стрим снимаю. Я. Хомяк. Хомяк. Хомяк, напиши, пригласишь. Ну, короче, играть вместе. Нажмешь. Фух.
What hit your spirit to say yes? This
Всем
is the
привет,
time.
ребят, с вами Админ.
Honestly, because I think that George Floyd really woke up a lot of people who, including myself, who I was vocal and outspoken about racism. I put it in my lyrics. I put it on T-shirts. I would talk about it in interviews. Like, you know, I was vocal about it. But that video in that moment, I think me along with a lot of other people just kind of was like, all right, like words are simply not enough anymore. You gotta do something, whether it's raising money, whether it's voting or all the above. Like we gotta do something, you know, and I'm ashamed that it took that for me to be like, I need to raise money and I need to vote. You know, it's a shame. And I don't know, I guess it snapped a bunch of people out of it, you know? And even if you were vocal and whatnot, it's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote. You know, it's time to just stop talking about it and be about it, you know? And it's been time for that, but like I said, you know, I'm ashamed that it took me this long to actually really be about it, but I'm here now.
So Russ, we all know that this is going to be your first time voting. Tell me what that experience is going to be like for you in terms of what you're excited about.
I think you know what it's going to do for me. It's going to let me know that I'm contributing to something bigger than myself, and I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm being about it. Because you know, for so long, and I know I'm not alone with this, but you know, standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that and this should change and it's like, all right, but did you vote? You know? And so you know, I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role, you know. And that's the problem. I think the mentality of like my vote doesn't matter needs to be changed to my vote, albeit small, does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their part, then we make a difference. But you know, it'll feel. I have a feeling it's gonna it's gonna feel very bigger than me. And I think when you realize that giving actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So voting is an easy way to give. You know.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you have been given a huge platform, and we are so grateful for you, Russ. Philanthropist, artist, community activist, first time voter. We appreciate you for doing this, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, la.
So cities like Atlanta and Chicago have been at the forefront of the discussions, especially now in this country when we're talking about COVID-19 and systemic racism, as well as police brutality and what we can do in this country. Again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. We can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you. I brought in Atlanta and Chicago because I know you grew up in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, more specifically McDonough, let's be technical. And you have been very vocal throughout this entire time in terms of what our country's been experiencing. Let's look at the past month and a half, if you will. What has been the hardest thing for you to deal with?
The hardest thing for me to deal with, Carrie, this last month has just been going from the virus shutting everything down to us being called to action. You know, we've had multiple police brutality situations. We've had people protesting, wanting to get the message out. But I really realized that I need to be a part of the positive message and make sure that doesn't get lost in all the chaos going on for people to actually hear from a reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved.
A reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved, which leads us to More Than a Vote. It is a beautiful collective of Black athletes and artists you are a part of that. Talk to me about why that's important for you right now, and this be a part of that collective.
To me personally, it's important to be a part of that because I've somewhat used baseball and my craft as an excuse to not get more involved in voting. But I can't any longer use baseball and work as an excuse not to get educated and not also to show people like at any moment in time, any walk of life, we can make a difference.
So tell me in your words, what does activism look like for you?
In my words, it looks like LeBron James, the biggest athlete right now on the planet, speaking up and breaking the ice for everyone. And I think for the first time, people see and hear from us. So now we have white teammates, we have other people speaking up and realizing, okay, like this is how we go about doing this. And to me right now, social media, athletes speaking up, entertainers speaking up, like we're trying to do with More Than a Vote.
You said something I thought was so key because covering sports for so long, I know that it's tough for Black players specifically talk about how they feel. Adam Jones did it in a very eloquent way early on, but there are very few that are vocal. You said you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
You was afraid because in 2019 there were 68 of us total, and there are 38 teams. There's 25-man roster on each team. There's a 40-man roster, which is on each team as well. And, there aren't many of us, so we're outnumbered in that sense, but not always in a negative way when it comes to our teammates and our clubhouses. But to get to this point, you have to move a certain way. You got to be careful what you say. You can't ruffle feathers. You can't come off in any way. Much like other Black entertainers, much like yourself. Probably having to live through life every day, but to get to the highest level, you got to button up, you got to be seen and not heard. Baseball, like I said, it was time for us to try and speak up and make a difference. And show it's okay to do so because we can't be quiet any longer.
That is a button up, be quiet, be seen but not heard. That is an expression that a lot of Black folks can relate to in whatever aspect of professionalism that they experience, especially if they don't work for themselves. They just feel that. That is also a socialization that we have as Black folks, especially like you said, if you want to get to the higher level. And for so long, I felt it bubbling right underneath the surface that so many of us who were in whatever positions we were, who had platforms, were tired of pretending and looking the other way and spending so much time making others comfortable while we were uncomfortable. Do you feel that this is the type of movement that is sustainable, or is it just for a time?
No, it takes everyone joining in on the conversation, and right now I feel like more than ever there are little things as possible to distract from bigger issues. And we saw on draft day, we saw our president holding up the sign saying Black Lives Matter and wanting to include the rest of MLB in that. But now we're having those conversations as well. So I definitely think this is sustainable. And it's not always just going to be the popular thing to do. This is something that people want to get right because they know we care.
Jason, you said you think it's sustainable, that what you're seeing, especially with your colleagues in baseball, that this can be something where you're feeling more comfortable, feeling more safe to share how you feel about social injustice and police brutality. What are you doing right now in this moment with your platform to help change how we look at voting and how to educate the culture and the community about voting?
Well, first, what I'm doing, Carrie, is joining up with More Than a Vote and joining up with other athletes and entertainers to get that message out and use our platform in that sense as a group. And try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election coming, make sure that it's about people getting educated for years to come and figure out where to vote and how to vote. We've got people in different areas that cover different demographics and influence different areas of people. And as a baseball player, as a Black baseball player, I feel like now, like we talked about, is finally the time to show people that you can use your voice in this profession. You don't have to be afraid. And to me, that can help a kid growing up. He can see me, he can see other guys that were in the video we posted saying, hey, this is what they're standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was before. So I feel like that's my role in this. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to lead by example. I can't just always come up with a good answer that sounds good on TV. When I get asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes? I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself. for one, so many people, I feel like in Atlanta, they're on the move. Or when you want to try to make a vote and try and cast your vote, you have to do it by mail. You have to sign up for the absentee ballot. Then you have to get another ballot in return. They have to send it back to you. Well, for me personally, they didn't send that back until it was too late. Right? We didn't get it in the mail to the address that's an Atlanta address at my parents' house. We didn't get that in the mail until it was too late. And then from other friends and family that are still in Georgia right now, I just hear about them being held in lines too long and trying to get off work. And we know how it is for any family, but let alone a black family in a city or in the suburbs trying to take care of their family and trying to provide for them. You try to get off work, and then you're like, wait a minute. You start looking at the clock. It's like, oh, this is not going to happen today, right? And so I saw, Mayor Keisha Bottoms, reach out via social media to people and say, hey, I'm going to address these issues right now. I need y'all to stay in line to cash your votes. Keep hanging in there. So to me in Georgia, that's what that looks like.
Well, it's interesting that you even bring that up because there have been all these images specifically from Georgia, because that's such a battleground, where you see people, especially when it came to the primaries, doing whatever it takes. And this is real life voter suppression that you're talking about. It's been happening for decades. It's not what you're saying, these examples of sending you your ballot too late after the fact or shutting down the polls at 6 o'clock while people still are in line. That's a real life issue. There needs to be some type of change. And I think that what we're doing right now is fair, but the idea of voter suppression, do you think that is well known, especially with folks, within the generation, your generation?
I think it's known in our communities, right? I don't think it's spoke on enough. I don't think there's been enough light drawn to it. Bring it to light. Let people hear about it. Let people learn about what that looks like, and get more people to say, okay, look, this is going to happen. We have to expect this, and we can no longer make the excuse. We can't say they didn't warn us.
Jason, everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows, that the time is now. America's paying attention to us. We have their eyes. We have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about in terms of seeing a change?
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. The word is being spread right now. The biggest athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers are doing their part. But I'm also seeing people out there on the streets doing their part. When so many things got lost, could have very easily got in the commotion when it came to protests and we saw rioting, we saw looting. People still stood their ground. People still went out there and said, look, we're doing this for the right reasons. We're going to come together. We're going to use drones, social medias. I feel like this is a new wave of getting things done the right way and just spreading the message.
You're right about that. And you're right. People are spreading the word unapologetically. We out here. We doubling down. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Hey
everybody, I am so excited to welcome a friend, a brother, family member, if you will, former colleague, NBA great, sports analyst, philanthropist. He does it all, and he's here to give us his time and his platform to talk about something that is so important, that is voting. Everybody, welcome Jalen Rose to We the People. Talk to me about how important it is for the people who know you and love you and look up to you. Why is it so important that you
Initially, we have to get past the stigma of the mental systemic racism that comes with the presidential race, governors, mayors, senators, judges. We've been conditioned to believe that our vote does not matter. So usually when we looked up at all of those races and people that were running, not only did they not look like us, we didn't believe they were there to represent our best interests. So therefore, as a collective, we didn't mobilize until Barack Obama, and we felt a sense of hope that finally our country is going to do something that we felt would never happen in our lifetime. And I remember being at the inauguration in 2008. I made sure I was there. And we voted. In 2016, we didn't vote, Carrie. We didn't vote. And so many people try to make this political. This is not political. Me telling somebody to vote is like telling somebody to pay taxes. So that's one, getting over the stigma of nobody is going to represent our best interest. And then number two, the reality. is that the person that gets the most votes doesn't necessarily win the presidency. That's uncomfortable right there, because that's actually what took place in 2016. The Electoral College chose the president. And if you put all of their pictures up, I'm pretty sure they look a lot more like each other than they look like you and I. How about that? And then the third thing, especially in urban environments, oh man, they create
Ладно, сейчас
barriers
приду.
for us, Carrie. It's
Да
like you
не
got to
спеши
jump
на
over the
повторе,
fence, you
повтори.
got to run past the dog, you got to jump on the hood of the car. The lines is 5 hours long. You get up to the poll and they don't work. Elderly people working in the city, while they got the young people who understand technology working in the suburbs. Like, these are all systematic things that try to discourage us from voting. And then finally, we don't have a day off to vote. We need to work. So we don't get a day off. It's going to be a full day, and I got to work to pay my bills. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mail in vote. And you know what you want people to realize? That counts too. So your vote will be counted if you're able to mail it in. So those are a few things that I hope that we can do and mobilize. And shout to LeBron and his team. Shout to you and everybody involved. We will make a difference.
Well, let's talk about more than a vote. There is a Black collective of athletes, of artists coming together and saying voter suppression is a real deal, especially in the Black community. When you just talked about, I got to work, so I can't go vote. And then when we do get in the booth, just in case we don't have to work, do we know who we're voting for? Not only do we have to vote, we got to be educated. And it's not always even about the man who's in office or the woman who's in office for president. It's about your local elections. It's about the people who are your DAs, your state DAs, like the people who actually make change in your community, who will change police brutality, who will make sure that your community is taken care of, who will defund police and hope that they can help you in stopping police brutality. So talk to me about why you decided to be a part of More Than a Vote and what it actually means.
Well, it means a lot to be involved with such an impressive collective, as you mentioned. And I said this multiple times, and I know it can be uncomfortable when I say it, but a lot of times we have to get to the root of the issue before we find a solution. And the quote was, I wish America loved Black people as much as it loves Black culture. And this collective, by the way, represents in a lot of ways what's encouraging, but also sometimes disappointing about our role as Black people in America, because we were brought here as labor and to entertain. And we use those vehicles to get paid and move to the suburbs and be the idols of white kids. And so now that we have this collective, I would say sports and entertainment represent the most powerful group of Black men in the United States. I'm talking about money, power. All of us pull it in the same direction at the same time for anything that we're passionate about. It's going to be a difference maker, but it's definitely going to be a difference maker in the 2020 vote, because we're going to make sure we inform everybody that they can let their voice be heard, and failure is not an option.
Gina, what does voter suppression look like to you?
A perfect example took place recently, Carrie, in Kentucky. It was 6 p.m. at night, and so many people were standing in line enthusiastic to vote. You know what they did? Locked the doors. And you know what the people did? They continued to bang on the doors, continued to bang on the windows. They continued to let it be known they were not going to leave the premises until they got a chance to vote. And you know what ended up happening? They opened those doors and allowed those people to vote. So do not be discouraged. These barriers show you that it matters, and we're here to help you break through them. The same thing with our platforms and voices, Carrie, because you know what's going to happen. At some point, Breonna Taylor is not going to be trending anymore. People are not going to be protesting anymore. but it's still up to us to keep making sure that our voices get heard, and this is one way to do so.
Right, and that is a form of being activated, being an activist. It doesn't have to be protesting. It doesn't have to look like what you think traditionally activism looks like. It's voting. It's that simple.
We now have to understand, like, this is a critical mass moment for this movement to continue to hold up as much steam for as long as possible. And that's what this collection is going to hopefully allow for that situation to happen.
Jalen, in today's age of technology, it should be easier to vote.
No doubt. It's like we call these devices smartphones, but yet I can't vote from it. All of the things that we do in our lives are in our phones. All of these barriers are things that people will need to overcome in order to create a level of enthusiasm to vote. And again, this is not political. It's your right to do so. And there's so many times where you feel like somebody may have gotten done unjustly in your community. Pay attention to who the judges are, who's running for Senate, mayor, governor. Pay attention who's running for president. And let's make sure in 2020 we make a difference.
Why is more than a vote so important and invaluable in our community right now?
Well, because right now, I think we have an opportunity to let our voices be heard louder than ever. Anytime you see the mobilization of white kids holding Black Lives Matter signs, that means there's a breakthrough. Now, what happens with that breakthrough is the next step. You're going to look down in your email, Carrie, you're going to see all of these companies telling you how they're going to work on their diversity, how they're looking themselves in the mirror. They need to make change, just like in sports, right? You look on the field, on the court, all those black players. The further you get up, it's like altitude or a ladder. It gets thinner and thinner. And so a lot of people talk about the system being broken. I hate to remind people that it's not broken. It was built this way. And one of our ways to help change the system is to vote. So that's why more than a vote is so very important, so we can make sure everybody participates and gives themselves an opportunity to let their voice be heard.
I think it's interesting because you talked about Black men being very powerful in the U.S. if they're athletes and entertainers, because for so long those have been the only avenues traditionally to create wealth. The NBA season comes back. What are your feelings on the season coming back? In the midst of everything that is happening?
I think you'll see players challenging the establishment more. You're going to see them saying, okay, if you have all of these marketing and promotional deals, how many of them are with minorities? How many people are you employing in NBA? What about certain teams? Who do you have as a minority owner? Or what about the candidates that you have for positions of power? NBA players have proven as blacks that they are now movers and shakers in the game. They're now the dog, not the tail. So if they decide not to play, some of the biggest social changes and conversations have taken place in sports that weren't during the game. Colin Kaepernick was before the game. The Ali Summit was a press conference. So they could mobilize if they chose to. But when and if you do play, challenge the league. Black Lives Matter on the jerseys. Continue to make sure that every time people are watching the game, they're also seeing the movement happen.
Jalen, I appreciate you because you are always entertaining and informative at once. I really, truly am looking forward to the NBA season. Thank you for working with More Than a Vote because your voice, your platform, all of it is needed, my friend. Be safe, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I love and appreciate you. One call away always.
Thank you. Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Every conversation that we had today, I hope was helpful for you. I am so grateful to everyone who came on with me to talk about what's going on in our culture and how we need to change. Huge shout out to Jalen Rose, Bun B, Jason Hayward, Yvonne Orgy, and Russ. Their words were inspiring, but also important and invaluable. I hope your phone is full with all the information that we've been able to place in front of you. Again, you need to check out these resources because they are so important because we want you to vote. That is your voice. It is important. We, the people, want you to vote. So go to morethanavote.org, fairfight.com, and whenweallvote.org. Again, thank you so much for joining us and paying attention because this message, again, is invaluable. I'm Carrie Champion for We the People.
Все. Так, ребят, это мега большой экран. Вот, это новая. Главная сцена это... Ну, это я просто не преуспел. Должно быть больше. Ладно, ребят. С вами был я, Дамир. И все... Не, так нельзя заканчивать. Так, никто не заканчивает. О. Темноте звук нету. Жалко. Черный кот, белый. Теперь ты же... Кто? Робокот. Ой, робокот. Это этот... Я сделал. Мяу, я говорю, когда... О, квадроциклы? Я чувствую, здесь нет квадрика. И два шанса. Новая. Нифига. Переодеваться я не хочу. Так и знал. Где нам взять тачку? Открываем за собой дверь. Я такое? Нет. Теперь же можно взять эти квадрики. Много экран нет. Ладно, будем уже идти. Если вы знаете, напишите в комменты. Я хочу одного подписчика. Так, во сколько это будет времени? 21 3 часа ночи. Ну, если ты... Видео. Так, разбираю, да, 2 августа. Кто не получил? Надо было вчера получить. Пути это играть. Ладно, посидите сейчас. Это такая у нас эмоция вчера. До сегодня заходите, берите эмоции. Не знаю, не сегодня, но вчера я ее получил. Прикольно. Либо от 27 до 29 заходить. Ой, туса, 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 туса. А я в тусе. Ладно, давайте этого разбаним. Так как его? А, точно. Алло. Ну где? Когда? Алло, так будешь играть? А во что ты сейчас играешь? Я ведь вижу. Так а я про что стрим снимаю? Да. Ну, ну, как я сказать, я в бою только что зашел. О, где? Вот эту эмоцию я хочу. Ну, когда-то играем, попробуем. Боже, только надо вспоминать, как этот с подписчиками играли 7 часов. Да. Я играю с подписчиками. Нет, это нереально. Меня сейчас ни один не смотрит. Ну, один смотрит, только это мой телефон для комментов. Драма оружия и танцы. Боже, как же тут много нового дряные доки. И сейчас я скажу, или нектарный... О, Атлантида появляется. Алло, Атлантида появляется. Так проявляется. Вон куски. От разрабов я ничего не спрячу. Разработчики мне секрет, а я его говорю. Идеально. Да, я по-моему сделаю. О, вот так вот. Это у меня тихо. Я не слышу. Мне интересно, если я... Алло. Мне интересно, если я регулирую звук на наушниках, то на стриме тоже? Или одно и то же? Ну, только ты ведь помнишь договоры, без чего мы договаривались. Так. И без этого. Я сейчас тебя забаню обратно. Окей. Добрый день. Нет, нет, отстань. Фух. Да что такое? И что? Я. Ведь не договаривались так, Гена. Пипец у меня. Здесь ведь никого нету. Да, вряд ли я так убью. Ой, я пошел. Ой, так я один живой. Братуха, прости. Ух, тут сдох. Нет. О. Через PS. Пипец. Алло. Алло, ну я закончил. Через PS Саша лапа. Алло, уже под... В смысле, оглушил? тебя не баню. Подожди сейчас. Подожди, так я думал, ты с нами играть будешь. Давай 1 на 1, Саш. О, вот это я ждал. Пишет, можно с тобой дуэль. Ну ладно, давай, стрим. 1 на 1 против одного. Заходи. Нужно с тобой так. В смысле, какой ранг? Алло, а что такое ранг? А, уровень? Пипец, играю 5-6 месяцев, не знаю, что такое ранг. В прямом. Ура, 1 подписчик. Заходи. Ну, не могу посмотреть. А, да. Что? Типа на стриме? На стриме он для детей. Ну, 9. Меня тут вопросы уже задают. Эй! Так, ладно, давай в зоноварс. Подожди. Тебе сколько лет? 9? Да, я уже стример. Так, это я хочу. Иди сюда. Да? Вот Fortnite плюс 12 на мне по барабану. Это моя любимая игра. Ну, как сказать. Я... Ой, я чуть свою карту... Не, идем на мою зону варс. Да, можно. Ну как? Нет. Давай. Сейчас. Не, хочу... Теперь... Так, сегодня надо на карте. Сегодня надо тренироваться на карте. Так. Не знаю. Не понял. Мини-кос. Ам-ням-ням, ам-ням-ням. О, а ты смотришь фишинг? Типа английский. О, все, до свидания, я понял. Ну, а куда ты мне их скинешь, и я причем не в России? До свидания. Двери закрываются, я убегаю. И тебе еще не... Если считать... Так. Чё? Подожди, мне тоже 9 лет, и мне... Чё? Нет. Не знаю. Нет, не трогай меня! Я в те места не захожу. И чё я такое, а? Ну нафиг. Не знаю, почему я не поставила на одно видео. А ты откуда? Ты... Да дай похилиться. Подожди, дай отхилиться. Ну, тоже с 8 лет. Да, игра. А ты что, на моем стриме? Ты что, Бэтмен? Бэтмен в Майнкрафте. Ой, так я здесь баг знаю. Спускайся. Да в смысле? Сегодняшнего дня я занимаюсь. Всё. Подожди, так... А у тебя редак за 1 секунду? А как? А как ты это сделал? Чё? А это что такое? Окей. Мне еще и заниматься надо. Нет, иди. Нет, я не СПС. Ой, СПС. У меня хп как у тебя где-то. В смысле читер? А, ты с компа снимаешь. Я не хочу. Я ливаю. Подожди, что? Да. Я на такие вопросы не отвечаю. Да ну. Не знаю. Оставь, дай захилиться. Американо. Занято. Ну как сказать? Да ну, я тебе только хп нормально снес. Не, это место хорошее, мне оно нравится. Чё? Ну, до свидания. Первое слово дороже второго. Ну ладно. Да откройте двери, это полиция. Да ну! Да ну! Нет. Короче, до свидания. Куда надо? Что надо? Да. Я в Зоноварс. Ко мне? А куда? А когда я такое? Ну так я... Ну надо, мне в это надо было. Ты будешь со мной? Крот. Кротяра. Хэдик. Ой. Не, у меня была охота. Я в Хэдик дал. Чего? Куда? А сейчас что это? Нет, я хочу, вернулся. Нет. Не понял. Ты куда? Это мое первое. Ладно, режим крота включен. Нет. Чем дальше, тем сложнее становится. Смотри, я приземляюсь. Почти не считается. На, миник. Только он воняет. Он у меня с вчерашнего дня был. О, колодец желаний. Сколько у меня желаний. Одно было. Не хочу, он невкусный. Ты чё, Бэтмен? Я знаю, как... Быстрее! Ах ты! Не, вблизи я как... О, карасик. Не рушь. Нет, не трогай меня. Хорошо, без проблем. Тогда я редактировать стенки. Тихо, чё так пугать? Сколько хп осталось? Окей, сейчас 100 хп минимум. Ну ладно, посражаемся. Ты снайпер, ты снайпер. Ответь, пожалуйста, ты снайпер? Я умею, да ты снайпер по ютубу. О, хорошее место. Мне нравится. Да. Еще мне нравится. Ну как? Каранде. Там, где карась же будет. Ты так говоришь, когда ты знаешь, где я. А ты где? Ай! Ай, деспасито, деспасито, деспасито. Я в ловушке. Заберу пока все стороны, пока там и сидишь. Ой, это нет. Фу, чё я заспавнил? Нет. Ой. Сколько у тебя время? Давай поиграем, ты ведь сам сказал. Фу. И как всегда, я выиграла не ливаю. Ну, короче, вы теперь знаете об этом баге. Ой, еще. Вопрос, что у меня берет? О, вот это сойдет, вот это сойдет. Не ливну? Или место поменял? Ливну. Проверим. Да. Меня бросили. Почему, когда он ливнул, меня тоже? Почему? Так, посмотрим, что у нас на черном экране. Да, очень интересно. Черный, 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 черный. Ого! А шо его? У него даже это, как у меня. Уровень у меня больше. Так, куда он полетит? Не туда. Это его тачка. О, я про кораблик забыл. Ищем. Ранда. А где это точно? Он вообще в той. Не, братаны, вам. Пипец, так я отвык от управления. Тут уже 119 левел. Где я? Недолеты, перелеты. Ты проклят, чтоб ты был. Одиночное озеро. Там не одинокое озеро. Или одинокое. Тут не... О, подожди. Веточка. Ладно, челлендж победить. 5 стаков оружия. Что так много? Я думала, оно по одному хп сносит. Если сейчас запишется, у меня не полный хп. Я буду орать. Ага. Почти. Да кто там на присоске летает? Бульдог. Не понял. Случайно не это? О, вырубает игрока из дробовика. Вырубает игрока из дробовика. Вырубает игрока из дробовика. Вырубает игрока из дробовика. Реально. 0-0. Все обижает моих друзей. Я вам сейчас покажу. Зубенко Михаил Петрович все порешает. Ну как все? Там этот, если вы не там. Нет. Друг. О. Пеннивайз. Ладно мне лутаться. Это котяра. Смотрите, берем сундук, потом пук. Я его собью. Очка выпало. Что, редактировать? Ура! Первая емка! Стой! Не надо. Тупо в прыжке. Нет. Не, дай патроны, есть патроны. Ля-ля-ля-ля-ля. Ля-ля-ля-ля-ля-ля-ля-ля. А ну, в прыжке его. А ну, сколько его хп? На тебе. Ты железо мое забрал. Ты мою броню потратил. Ты мою... Подожди. Пип. Второй дубль. Ты мою броню потратил. Ты джойстик. А я кот. Ой, а где? Дай, это мое. Это мое любимое. Хоть бы это был 2 миника. Смотри, 3 миника. 1 миник. 4 миника. Огонь. Карасики. Карасик это мой друг. Ну как? Нет. Котик, брось это знание. Что там? Что это зацумело? Что это зацумело? Я у тебя... Прости. Карасики наши друзья. А бананы? Бананы. Вы уничтожены. О, еще. Дружбаны. О. Сейчас вот эти все и возьму самое лучшее. Видите, я сейчас оборачиваюсь, а тут нету снайпы. О, еще один мой друг, только чуть-чуть получше. О, привет. Бэтмен. Вон они. Читер. Где? О, это мой ходить могу, да? Может, нет, не могу. Не трогай его. Так, патроны. А я вижу. Я вижу. Ничего себе, я стрелять со снайпой не умею. Ура! Не ура! Огонь! Карасики я вас не отдам. Надо $1. Да, надо быстрее. 2 карасика. Нате. Еще братуна. Братуняка. Так, надо своим тиммейтам говорить. Что карасики они злые. Малолетние. Малолетки зелья. Малолетки зелья. А здесь потрачено. Нет. Нет. Я не хочу их есть. Карасик, ты мой друг. Я тебя до конца боя никому не отдам. Ну как, одного сожру. Одного твоего друга. Ну, если у меня будет 70 хп, то я немедленно ем. Ну, 50. 150. Я немедленно ем карасик. Фишинг. Так, и останется карасик живых. Мой ответ — нет. Правильный ответ. Поедание карасиков. Плывите, карасики, плывите. Ты что, плавать не умеешь? Ну ладно. Ты мой друг, как бы. Нет, это мои друзья. Вы хотите обманять одного карасика на топ-1? На. На. Ай, больно. Мне больно на это смотреть. Вы... Нормально. Нормально. О. Вот так, раз. Два. 3. А что мне тут? Карась, карась, давай карась, 3 карась. 4 караси. Карасист. Битва карасиков. Так, где? Ура! Нет, я всех хочу. Ну ладно. Одного съем. Одного продам за пиццу. Я топ-1. И двое останется у меня. Ой, как двое? Одного продам. Да, двое у меня. Сейв не лутай. Бэтмен. Как ты мог? Так, синяя. Спасибо. Синяя снайпа. Не надо. Нет, нет, нет. Так, синяя БП. БП. Синий БП. Нет. Прости. Так, развернулись. Ой, Данил присутствует в сети. Где карасей? Вы чё, караси? Караси нас боятся. Нет, я не схожу. Сожгу караси. Нет. Так развернулись. Фу, невкусный, на вкус как рыба. На вкус как тухлая рыба. Хорошо, что их никто не додумается съесть. Ради победы. Ради победы я их. Карасик. Вы выживете. Синие карасики. Вы тоже должны выжить. Вы мне хп похилите. Jump add. О, это jump add? Или нет jump add? Да, это jump add. Ну, поближе будет. Так, друга. Друга я жрать не хочу. Нет! Чё у меня стрим лагает? Надо мне. Фишит. I'm a приквером финале. Чё, карася? Простите. Смотрите. Я съел карася. Чё ты сдох? Его снайпнул. Нет, нет. Одного я должен продать. Нет. Одного я должен сожрать. Айма, привет. Так, заберем чуть-чуть. Видишь, какой ты? Так, застроимся. И аптеку завезем. Так, 2 тачки, ну дай. Ну так и знал. Хиль. Все. Ничего почувствовать не смог. Лучше бы карасика съел. Купить. О, новый магазин. Вот другой взял. У него рот открыт. Я хочу вот это. Нет, вот это. Подожди, Саня. Саша. Саша смотрит, Саша не знает. Открыть чат. О. Не. Музыка какая-то слишком дорогая. Она твою... В смысле? Так. 1200 баксов подарок. Летчик. Да. Ай. Смотри, пацан. О, это ведь можно дарить? Купить, а это? Посмотрите. И такой скид подаришь. О, вот, подарить боевой. Подари боевой пропуск. Так. Какой же мне выберет рандом? Какую дочь? Если кот, мияс, динамит это получится. Так. Очень интересный скин. Не, я так не хочу. Кря. Ты. Мне раньше такая вот. А, не, у меня вот это было. Давно. Это я купил за 500 баксов здесь. Такой большой выбор, такая маленькая вероятность топ-1. Ну ладно, с вами был я. С вами... Нет. Так, с вами был я, Дамир. Всем пока. Смотри, другой скин. Нет. Не понял. Здесь он голова золотая. Вот здесь голова золотая. А здесь еще. А, я речь возьму. Нет. Ну, давай в это последний раунд. Ге. Вот тебе ге. Джей плюс Джей равной Майба. А может Джей это скорачивается прощай, брей. ГГ тебе. Вот тебе и ГГ настал. Наконец-то я тебе смог помочь. Ты не одолеешь, музыка. Мяу. Я прошу добавления. О, это инфи. Нет, это овер. Овер. Где котенок мой? О. А он интересно катается. А я бог. А ну. Я устоял. Вот. Рейд. Было. Что я построил? Поблагодарить вами автобуса. Он нас выкидывает в конец. Ой, вы видели? Пип-пип-пип. Видание топ-1. Там я не трогал. И в PUBG баг. Берешь гранату, не взрываешь. Она сама взрывается, не содержит дырку в вертолете, в самолете. Что это было? У его что-то? А, нет. Я наушники играю. Вот мой любимый дробовик это... Не, все, это ГГ. Это ГГ. Делай твоя лайдинлай. Кангай-гай. Эмочка. Ну, это его последний. Иди сюда. Мяу-мяу-мяу. Обед. Обед глухой. Я вам 5 сосисок в день даю бесплатно. Ладно, спасибо за груз. Я вам потом его принесу. Ам. И записки не добавок. Так, это не. Я вас заберу. Типа я угнал. О, акулака. Спасибо, благородство. Тара-тара-тара. Нет. Нет. Ну все. Там были Адамир. Всем пока. Я не вернулся. Так, где? Там был Адамир.